Okay, lights, camera, action. Hi guys.
Hi everybody.
So today we are having a little picnic. We're currently in Parc de Belleville, and we are actually going to celebrate our Paris anniversary. So 17 years in Paris. 17 years, that sounds like a lot, right? Well, it is. It's our Paris anniversaries together. So Hannah, you've been here for how many years now?
10 years.
10 years. And I have been here now for 7 years. So the two of our time in Paris combined is 17 years. So we thought that we would share some, lessons learned from the time that we've been here. So we are excited to share some of our insight from all the 17 years that we've been here.
Yes.
Should we cheers to that first?
Yes. Cheers, Maya.
So I guess to start, I would start with something that I've learned or come to appreciate, which is like the food here. So coming from the U.S., food standards are a little different, or just like the appreciation for food and time spent around food. In France, we do a lot of eating or like as a social activity. So having dinners with friends that could last like maybe 3 hours, going for apéros, things of like that. And also too, one thing that I've also come to appreciate too is just like kind of like being more worry-free about food. So knowing that most of the things that I eat comes from France or is locally sourced. Not to say that you can't get things locally sourced in the U.S., but I think that food laws are a little bit more strict here. So I think quality is better here, which I really appreciate.
Cool. I have to agree with that. I do think you have a lot of more food options than when I'm used to in Sweden. So I feel like I still keep eating my way around town, and I have so much more to taste because I feel like every week there's a new restaurant opening. So yeah. Food quality in Paris, set up.
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. I want to touch upon solitude. I come from a very big family back home in Sweden. I was always surrounded by somebody. I actually didn't really know how to be alone. So when I moved here, I kind of learned on how to be alone. So that was actually a pleasant surprise that you can actually have a good time on your own. Just take care of yourself, So solitude, that's what I want to add.
I think Paris has taught me to be okay being alone, going for drinks alone. Not all the time, of course, but I don't mind going to have lunch by myself or like doing things on my own. It's nice to have some time to reflect and just, take advantage of doing things on your own rhythm and taking advantage of all the things to do in Paris. Not necessarily needing to be with someone too, which is nice. I guess another thing that I would say that I've learned or is a big takeaway from living in Paris is definitely how to do more with less. So in the sense that I guess being here, one thing I was shocked about is how much lower the salaries are compared to the U.S. So I think in the beginning I had a hard time. Also another thing is that you're paid once a month versus like bi-monthly in the U.S. So one thing that I had to get really strict on is like living within my budget. So I know that my check would come once a month and making sure that I don't live beyond my means. And also too, just in terms of like space, like we live in much smaller spaces here. I think every time you leave and then come back to Paris, you realize, we do a lot in small spaces. So, like being more minimalistic and just using things that I need versus like, spending much more money on like shopping or things like that. If I don't have space for it, I don't bring it into my house.
That's a good one. I would like to talk about the saying, like, if there's a will, there is a way. It's super difficult to like really start over at zero, not knowing the language, not having any contacts here. So you really, really, really have to work your ass off, excuse my French, to be able to stay here and create a life here, because nothing comes for free. Even though I'm European, I didn't have to bring any papers or visa or whatever to be able to stay. But it's still very difficult if you don't know anybody, if you don't know the language. So you really have to get ready to be very persistent in what you're doing to be able to stay here. So I had to work in a restaurant before. I did like English teaching gigs before I got into retail, and then I got a steady job. But yeah, I was hustling like crazy.
Yeah, you definitely have to get your hustle and be resourceful and find ways to find solutions for problems quickly. If you can't do that, maybe moving here or to another country is not for you.
Yeah.
But I think you have to learn how to adapt and move quickly and be more solution driven versus like, oh, it's a problem and then block and not move forward. So I definitely would agree with you about that.
One of the things that I learned also is where I'm from, Stockholm, Sweden, and Gothenburg, it's very diverse cities. You have people from all walks of life. But I was surprised when I came here. You have a very big diversity here as well. It's a huge melting pot. But people keep asking me where I was from, and I said Sweden, and they were like surprised to be like, "What? There's black people in Sweden?" I was like, "What? Yeah. Wait a minute. Like, what's going on?" So I was really thrown off of the fact that they reacted that badly to when I was saying where I was from. So I was not really comfortable or prepared to defend my roots, to be honest. So that was kind of a shock for me.
Definitely do get that question a lot. Where are you from? But where are you really from?
I hate that. But where are you really from? I'm like, I just told y'all.
So another thing that I have learned I would say, I guess it's more something that I appreciate about living here is the fact that healthcare is universal and essentially pretty much kind of free. I actually realized from an American perspective how messed up it is that not everybody has access to care.
Yeah.
And it's something that I don't take for granted being here, but it's something I definitely truly enjoy. I recently had surgery for my hip, of which I was really nervous about, like going through that whole system here. I, in the end, didn't really have to pay much, maybe like 400 euros for something that would have cost 10,000 euros or $10,000 in the US. So it's something that I definitely take advantage of. I mean, I'm not sick or anything, but like knowing that if I need to go get health, like access care, it's not going to cost me a lot of money, which is really nice.
Welcome to Europe, Maya.
Yeah.
Well, to less dramatic topic, but still important.
Yes.
It's daring to be myself. I had a hard time actually being my true self when I was living in Sweden because, well, hence, it was 10 years ago. So there was no social media, no Instagram, like there was no direct contact with people who look like me or get inspired. So I would basically never wear my hair out. I try to minimize who I was, my colors, everything, like the way I dress, because I didn't want to bother people. I just wanted to fit into this box, and I was extremely uncomfortable. That's why one of the reasons that I had to move, so I could like spread my wings, be myself. So yeah, I really, really like that. Pianos kind of like introduced me to myself-ish.
That's nice.
Yes.
Thank you, Paris, for that. You are your true best version of Hannah.
Yeah.
I would say another thing for me that I really love about being here is just the access to culture and activities. I feel like everything is pretty accessible here, from going to the theater or going to see plays, going to museums. All the beautiful monuments. We're constantly surrounded by history and culture, which I really appreciate. I've made it a point to make sure I take advantage of all those activities on a monthly, weekly basis, just because it's so easy to access.
Yeah, I also love that. I didn't really go to museums and stuff like that when I was here in Sweden. And here you're just surrounded with so much culture, and it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Really it is. I would like to add the French way of living, which is called joie de vivre, which means like, how do you say? Happy life, like happy way of living. People are really out there a lot. Like, doesn't matter what time of the year it is, you see somebody on a terrace sitting, drinking, eating, talking loud, just like enjoying life. And I'm from a culture where 6 months of the year is freezing,
and dark,
and dark. Nobody's out. People are like low-key suicidal until summer comes. So it's so nice to run and people be like, apéro, come here, this and that. Super spontaneous, just out there. I love it.
Yeah, you definitely don't need an excuse to enjoy yourself. If it's a Tuesday night and you just like bought a nice bottle of wine and you want to have friends over, you call friends over and you come over.
Yeah.
That's something that I really like as well.
Yeah.
One thing I would just add too is just like the pace in Paris. I mean, it's a big city, but it's still a lot more chill, I feel like. And also people, I think there's a good work-life balance.
Yeah.
those Parisians or French people, just in general, they take their vacation seriously. You go on holidays. You just really make sure you're a whole person. You don't just work. You work and play.
How many weeks do we have in Europe?
So minimum, you have 5 to 6 weeks of vacation. Woo woo. So another thing that I would kind of highlight as far as something that reflecting on the time that I've been here, is that I've learned that being positive is not a norm, I would say.
That's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah,
yes.
I would say being positive or like positivity is not a norm. So personally, and I'm sure you would agree, is like French people can sometimes be not positive, like and so that can be a little draining on a day-to-day, like something as simple as like can I have this thing that I don't see in the back of, or like the front of the store? Oh no, it's not possible. But then I have to ask again or convince them why they could go get it, and they'll be like, okay. So like I feel like it's easy to say no first, and then you gotta like do convincing to get a yes. So that can be very draining, especially in situations where you're trying to take care of Paris administration or I don't know, just day-to-day things. I would say that it's hard sometimes, but I think I made it a mission to keep positive and always counteract negativity with positivity.
I have to agree. I actually had a really hard time. First time I started working in a restaurant, people thought that I was being super fake and that I was not expressing my feelings, because I was always like happy, laughing, and just like being positive. It's like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, this is the way people are, like,
Yeah.
And it was so weird that you had to defend your positivity and the way you are, being smiley, and it was weird, but I think it's just a way for them to be. I don't think they see it as a negative thing. I think for them it's just a way of communicating, but they don't feel the negativity, but us, we're like, oh my gosh, this is uncomfortable.
For them it's normal.
But
even like simple things, like let's say we eat a meal and we're talking about if we like it. In French you would say, like people would say, c'était pas mal, and I had a really hard time when I first like was learning the language, like it wasn't that bad, like, but so you didn't like it, but it was like, no, they liked it, but instead of saying it was great, like as a initial reaction, they would say, c'est pas mal, like, it's not that bad.
It's not that bad,
versus, it was good.
Yeah, so if you heard c'est pas mal, it means it's awesome.
Yeah, or c'est pas terrible.
C'est pas terrible, exactly.
It's not okay.
It's not terrible, it's okay, yeah. One thing I love about this culture, even though people are, in a good way, very nuts here, they express themselves. I'm from a culture where you don't speak your mind. You have to agree with everything. If you do have a different opinion, then you say that behind closed doors. You don't really say what you think. So when I came here, people were like, blah, 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 blah. Like, small talk is super detailed. Like, you can fall asleep during a small talk conversation because people are super detailed. And I was like, is this really necessary? But I guess it is, because they're in their feelings 24/7. So
in all settings, work, parties.
All the time. They're in their feelings. So it was a huge challenge for me to appreciate them being so open about their feelings, and also just like let it be. I was so annoyed by it in the beginning, but now like it's so cool. Like everybody should just speak their mind and just be themselves. So I'm still a work in process, but I've done much better. Yeah.
So I guess to maybe wrap it up, I guess I would just say one of the big things that I would take away or encourage people that are maybe thinking about moving to Paris or abroad, or to new city or new state, is just like know that it's okay to mess up. Like we've been here for a while, and we've had our good times, we've had our bad times, and I mean you have to mess up, you have to fail quickly though, and learn you learn from your mistakes and not be afraid, even from like learning the language. Like you have to put yourself out there to speak. It's okay if you make mistakes, to trying to get a job in a market that is not your own. Like maybe apply to 10 jobs and you get 10 rejections. Okay, maybe on that 11th one you're gonna get the job. Like just be persistent and positive and optimistic. And if you mess up, it's okay.
It's not about how you fall, it's about how you get up.
Exactly.
So it's okay to fuck up. Enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not done fucking things up.
Me either. I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to message us, add your comments if you liked it, add your questions below, and we look forward to talking with you guys soon.
Thank you for watching.
Bye.
Me too. Bye.
Cheers.